So this is going to be part 2 of our Snug-a-Bear stuffed toy on the 22 needle knitting machine, and we're going to work on his head and snout. So you want to take a piece of yarn and put it on your needle, and we're going to create the neckline. And this is the same as what we did at the bottom of the bear. We weave it in and out and around the stitches so we can then close it to cinch it tight. And again, because of this thread being fuzzy, it kind of hides those stitches, so you don't need to be precise. But then when you go to close it, I do a knot and I close it down, and then I'll flip it over to the other side, wrap them around, and do another knot. And I'll do that a couple times back and forth just to kind of help identify the neckline. And then I will say where I started the needle, it's about halfway down the body. If you kind of think it needs to be a little bit further up, it makes the head too small. So it's almost halfway is where I do the neckline for the body of the bear. And one thing I didn't do was make sure that my two ends were evened out, so one end kind of got a little small, but that's okay. Next, we're going to make the snout. So we want to yarn on our 22 knitting needle machine, and then we're going to do 12 rows and then cast off. So the 12 rows, that does not include your cast on or cast off. Once you cast off, it's the same steps as what we did to make a body, which is also like making the beanie hat. And you can see here my stitch slipped off, so I had to fix it real quick so it didn't unravel. And what we're going to do is the same thing. We want to make sure we turn it inside out, so the wrong side is now the exterior of our project. And we want to cinch the first side of the tube closed. And then I needed to pull my end yarn of the other side of the tube through so I can cinch it down as well. And this is going to create our 2 layers. So this is just a miniature version of like what we did to the body. And then we put the 2 ends of the tubes together. So this kind of makes now a flat disc since there's only a few set of rows. And then I'm going to put the one end of the working yarn to the other side so both ends are on the same size, and then I will knot them together to secure them. Then I cut my ends, and now we're going to cinch it closed. So I take some yarn on the end of my needle, and on the outside of that disc we're going to again weave it in and out and all the way around. Again, just like what we did to create the neckline and what we did at the bottom of the bear before we stuffed his body. So just in and out. All the way around, and when we get back to the other end of our working yarn, you can tighten it, and then that creates like a little round ball for his nose and his snout. And here's how he looks like on his head. And then before we go to sew it on, I am going to fill it with some polyfill just so it can keep its shape. Now to attach it to the head, after the polyfill is in, we're going to do a couple knots with those end yarns so it doesn't come apart. And then you want to kind of center it in the middle of the head where you want it, and we're going to take those 2 end yarns on the needle and we're going to feed it through the head just to kind of help hold it in place, because after it's kind of held in place, that will help us when we're doing the whip stitch to secure it to the head. So I just pull one end through, and then I pull through the other end. And then I'm going to weave it back through to the front side of the head. This was probably optional. I don't know if I would do this part again. I would maybe just tie it in a loose knot and then whip stitch it, and then just feed those ends back through, because I don't really think they help to secure the nose all that much once it's whip stitched around, because I'll do 2 layers of whip stitches throughout the project. But when I was making this one, I decided to feed it back through the head and circle it around the nose a few times and then knot it. But what it ended up doing was still creating that divot to the back of the head. I thought I got it out, but by the end of the project, they were still there. So that's up to you how you want to, if you want to put them back through like I did, or just leave them out on the back and then put them in. But now we're going to whip stitch it down to the face. So we just take some yarn and I pull it all the way through, so there's just a little bit of a tail, and then we're going to go all the way around the nose. And we're just going to do this once around for now, so it's secured and held in place, and then a little later on, after I get the ears on, I do another row to make the snout a little bit flatter. And then once you go all the way around the nose, back to the other end of the working yarn, I tie it in a knot, and then I hide the ends and I weave it through a few times. And so now the nose or the snout is secured to the face, and that is the end of part 2. Please like and subscribe. I will have part 3 up as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching.